All right, it looks like we are live now. Welcome to the show. This is Barbara Talks Business. I am Barbara Carr, and today I have John Hackett as my guest. I am very excited to be able to speak with John and to share John's story with you. But as the audience, I want to let you know a couple of things. We are live both in our Facebook group that is called Tools, Tips, and Training to Grow Your Business, and we are also live on YouTube. I am watching the Facebook stream right now, so if you have questions or comments for John, please post them in the Facebook stream. And if you would like to share this video to tell your friends and family and colleagues about how awesome John is, you just hit the share button and share away. So, John, welcome to the podcast. Before we jump into all the amazing accomplishments that you've had in the business world and the corporate world, start by telling us a little bit about who you are as a person and your family.
Sure. Well, once again, before we start, thank you. I appreciate being able to do this, and it's always fun to sit and talk. And especially today, it's kind of an interesting day because interestingly, next week I'm crossing a milestone, 70 years old. And in the time, I've been blessed to have a lot of really good experiences. Most importantly, a wife of, 43 years now, who has been a great experience base for me in business and coaching because I always joke with my students and my clients that she is a person who drives around, that pretty lady with the white hair and the pink Cadillac. So Becky has been a senior sales director in Mary Kay for, golly willikers, 42 years, and 24 cars later, it's been very, very good for us. So, and she, like the rest of businesses, are doing a lot of pivoting right now. I have 3 daughters. One who is starting from the youngest up. Why don't we do that? They never get first. The youngest is the head of a speech pathology unit in Brooksville, Florida, and on an assisted care unit. So she completely understands COVID-19, sadly, but is doing a great job. I have a grandson and son-in-law there. I have a daughter who is a social worker, the head social worker at a junior high in Homewood, and also getting used to pivoting with that. And then finally, our oldest is the coordinator of special services at a junior high in Valley View. So it's we have an active, busy family, and interestingly, we all started in education. Actually, my father-in-law was a professor at Illinois State, and so that's kind of where we are at. I am now at a point in my life where I have been in high school and college administration, and now teaching for almost 48 years. But in between that, I've always been drawn to business because I felt that business, and sometimes people think that business and schools are way different animals, but they aren't. Because really, what do we have? We have people. And really, what do businesses do? What do schools do? We build people up and we get things done. So in that realm, I have served actually as a diagnostician on a drug unit 4 or 5 years, and a supervisor part-time, ran a drop-in center. Have been a pretty busy guy, and I do a lot of coaching at this point through my church. So we're pretty active folks, and throughout that time, I've had the ability to learn quite a bit, and working with my wife's organization as well. I've been blessed to have a lot of good experiences in a lot of different settings. So currently, at this stage of my career, I'm pretty much at the point of I want to add value to people's lives. That's my purpose. My purpose is that I want to train, coach, and write so that I can equip people to be leaders. Because I think one of the things we've avoided is the fact of leadership being a very intentional skill. And I think we can intentionally help people be leaders. And by leaders, I don't mean people with titles. I mean people who basically, and in fact, I use John Quincy Adams, our sixth president's quote, as my favorite. If you if your actions encourage people to do more, be more, and learn more, you're a leader. Well, if you think about it, that's everybody. you know? And I think honestly, we can intentionally build a much better new normal coming out of this COVID-19 pandemic and the challenges that have come with it by working intentionally to grow leaders. So that's kind of what I do.
Awesome, John. Thank you. And you do have a very impressive resume, if we called it that. In fact, I remember when I first met you, I thought, oh my goodness, this guy has done everything. It was really impressive. And so let's talk about some of your current things you have going on. So you write for a few different people or organizations or publications. Can you tell us about those?
Right. I do. One of the things I have found, sometimes when you're a kid, people tell you things and you kind of believe it about yourself, but it's really not true. Well, when I was a kid, I had several nuns and teachers tell me I was a horrible writer and speller. Well, that bothered me for a long time until I found out that really I'm not. And so what I've become is a pretty obsessive learner and writer. And I write currently once a month for the Network Marketing News Magazine. I write once a week for Fuse. And on Dr. John Hackett LinkedIn, I post an article every week on leadership. And it's kind of fun because I can kind of sit back and learn and see what's going on and be able to share stuff. I'm a compulsive sharer and teacher and learner. So it's, in fact, as we talk on my upstairs computer, I actually am taping a webinar that I want to see. So I don't turn it off.
Awesome. So John, and then one of your more recent things that you've gotten involved with is the John Maxwell certification for your coaching and all that stuff. So tell us a little bit about that. And then after you answer that question, I have a question in the chat that relates to that I'll let you know as soon as you answer.
Perfect. As I have grown as a leader and a trainer, I've looked for people whose values align with mine. And I have actually been involved with John Maxwell since probably the 80s. And the more I've been involved, I thought, I need to know more and learn more. So actually at the end of next month, I'll finish certification as a John Maxwell speaker and coach. That has really led me to think a whole lot about intentionally growing leaders. And it's an organization I'm becoming more involved in. They're going to start working in schools actually next year, which would be interesting in nonprofits. So I'm very fascinated by doing those kind of things. And that's led me to move on and to learn some more and share.
Great. And so the question I have in the chat for you comes from David Dewar, and he says, how has John Maxwell's concepts influenced you personally and in teaching and coaching others?
Oh, that's an exceptional question. Fun. Actually, last week's blog for Fuse is a great example of how that has affected me. Last week, I wrote about John Maxwell's eulogy for his father, who was a college president and a pastor. And he passed along something his father had passed along, and I think it's good to pass along here. What is our duty as leaders? Our duty is to add value to people's lives. That's one thing I picked up. 2, believe in people and lead with unconditional love. And those are things I think that in leadership today, we need a whole lot more of. We need to talk more about the value of people rather than the separateness of people. So that's probably the biggest thing I don't know if it's the biggest thing, but it's one of the biggest things I picked up from John Maxwell. That whole idea of adding value, and not just adding value, but consciously adding value. Um, and the other concept I'd add that I think is one I would share with everybody here is the power of reflection. Sometimes we go through, especially in these times of crazy change, we go through lots of stuff, and then we get to bed and we're exhausted. And then we get up, and sometimes we ask ourselves, am I repeating the same things over again? Well, what I would say is we should hearken back to what John Dewey once said about learning, and that is true learning is based on reflection. So I ask people I coach with to reflect, because once you reflect on what you do, you turn an activity into an insight, and that insight becomes something you can act on. Otherwise, if you don't reflect on it, it becomes a memory and it fades. And what happens then is we repeat the same old stuff again, fulfilling Albert Einstein's thought on the ultimate definition of insanity, doing the same thing and expecting different results. So those are probably, those two pieces, David, would be the biggest ones I had. It's a great question.
And a great answer. Thank you, John. Okay, so John, tell us what a typical day in your shoes looks like.
Well, yeah, that's interesting. A typical day. A typical day is for me, and I am a very habit-based person. I believe that one of the best ways to deal with the craziness going around us now is to develop a habit. And what I do then is I chunk my time. So I am a first thing in the morning, 2 miles in the pool person. Yes, that you heard that right. That's 2 miles in the pool. And actually, this was a great week. I got 16 miles in. And I'm glad the pools are back open again. Plus which I'm an open water swimmer. So what I do though is I'll do that in the morning, do breakfast, and I start off every morning listening to, being a faith-based person, to two songs that are huge for me in this time. One is by Sanctus Real called Confidence. I would encourage you to listen to it. The other one is by Michael W. Smith called Waymaker. Those start my day. Then, and I would suggest this as just kind of an added thing for people listening, go to johnmaxwell.com. He has a 1-minute blurb called Minute with Maxwell. Well worth listening to. So that starts my day. Then I, depending on the day, get going and write. And I write, and then I also listen selectively to webinars of people who, and the key is anymore, I don't listen to everybody. I listen to people who are aligned to my values. And I also like to listen, not only people who align to my values, but people who are saying, what's the future going to look like here? What is the future? Because honestly, I believe that people that work in coaching and training are going to be in huge high demand, and are actually, just because it's such a crazy world. And so I'll do that. I usually open the office at 9 o'clock. Upstairs and take a quick lunch break, come back in the afternoon, finish up some stuff. And by 3 o'clock to 4, somewhere in there, depending on how I get going with my writing. Sometimes when I write, time flies. I'll head then off to bicycle a little bit or do some reading. I think it's important that we're continually learning. So I try to get an hour of reading in every day. And then evening, it's time to relax. And in the midst, check emails and things like that. So basically, beyond that, and I do have scheduled coaching calls that I deal with throughout the day, and kind of work your stuff around that. But I really believe it's so important to have a blocked schedule of things. And I'm a great to-do list person. I live on a to-do list.
Good, good. I always say I live by my calendar.
Yes.
And so I like it. Same kind of concept. And I love the songs you mentioned, Confidence and Waymaker, two of my favorite
Yeah.
songs. So, John, if somebody is loving what they're hearing from you and
Mhm.
they want to know more, or they want to get to know you, or they want to inquire about coaching with you,
Sure.
what is the best way that they can reach you?
Well, probably the very two best ways would be maybe three. But let me first, I would certainly, I'm a great email person, J Hackett, JHACKETT 1 at Comcast.net. Uh, I can certainly be reached per phone, 815-690-7444. And I have a Facebook page called Making Connections, which would be another good way to or LinkedIn. My LinkedIn profile is listed as Dr. John Hackett. And so any one of those ways would be really good ways to connect with me. And honestly, at this point for this, I usually always do, and I would offer to this again a free consultation to anybody who wants to talk, because really, I view my job as helping leaders get from where they are to where they want to be, and if I can be of any assistance, I'm a connector and a teacher and a coach, and I'd love to be of service more than anything
Thank you.
else.
Thank you, John. I do have another question in the chat, and while I'm going to let people know that I put that contact information that you shared into the chat so that they can find it easily.
Oh, thank you.
And if anybody has any other questions for John, this is your last chance to ask them. So make sure you put them in the chat. So John, this question is, how does your personal faith influence and guide your business daily and allow you to pass it on to others?
Oh, that's a great question. I think in two ways. One, your faith helps guide how you see and value people. And so I think that, for starters, helps me understand and keeps me on the track of remembering that everybody is valuable and that everybody's trying to do their best. And and I think that helps us understand. And I think the final part to that question is, um, as St. Francis of Assisi used to say, you know, um, I always preach the gospel, and sometimes I use words. So I think it's your actions that lead people to see where you're at. And honestly, for me, it has been a great journey and a stabilizing force. And so that's the value. Since I want to share with people and add value, that's really the way I look at it. That's a good question. That's a good one.
That was a great question. And I think that answer was a great way to end the video too. I love that. And you're right, John, you do walk out what you believe and what you say. Like, I don't believe there's ever been a time that I thought that you were being anything other than exactly who you say you are, right? And what you believe in. Like, your actions and your words have always aligned with your values for as long as I've ever known you.
Ah, and I've been blessed to work with Barb for a lot of years. So,
Well, the blessing is here as well. I'm very blessed to work with you. All right. So with that said, if you want to know more about John, or if you'd like to talk to him about working with him or anything like that, his contact info is in the chat. Make sure you reach out to him. John is a fantastic person. He's also a great connector. You guys, John is out in Illinois. I'm in Indiana, as you guys know. John and I met through networking, and John does network really well, and he does connect really well. So just get to know him, see how you could help him, and he may know ways that he can help you. John, thank you so much for being on the call. You guys, on Tuesday, we'll have Miranda and Lee on the show talking about, they're with Green Cow, so we'll be talking about a lot of other business topics. So make sure that you guys connect and tell your friends that, that we're doing this. Right. And join the Facebook group. If you're not already in the Facebook group, search for tools, tips, and training and join us there.
And if you would go to my Facebook page, Making Connections, and like it,
Yes. Good, John.
See, I did listen, Barb.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Take care. Bye-bye.